Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastapesya Bhadrasya Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistike. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 9, The Dynasty of Ansuman, text 48, which is on the board. Iti vyavasito bodhya Narayana Shrihitaya Hitvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashrita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashtita Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanya Bhavam Ahyanam Tata Sambhavam Ashrita. Mataji speak. Iti Vyavasito Buddhya Narayana Sahitaya Itvanyabhavamahyanam tatasvambhavam astitam. Word for word translation. Iti thus vyavasita, having firmly decided, buddhya, by proper intelligence, narayana hritaya, completely controlled by the mercy of Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hitva, giving up, anyabhavam, consciousness other than Krishna consciousness,
other than Krishna consciousness,
ajnanam, which is nothing but constant ignorance and darkness. Tattaha, thereafter, from his original position as an eternal servant of Krishna, bhavam, devotional service, astitaha, situated, translation, purport by H.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Thus Maharaj Katpangam, by his advanced intelligence in rendering service to the Lord, gave up false identification with the body full of ignorance. In his original position of eternal servitorship, he engaged himself in rendering service to the Lord. Please repeat. Thus Maharaj Katpangam, by his advanced intelligence in rendering service to the Lord, gave up false identification with the body full of ignorance. In his original position of eternal servitorship, he engaged himself in rendering service to the Lord. Purport. When one actually becomes purely Krishna conscious, no one has any right to rule over him. When situated in his original position, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 20, verse 108. The living entity is eternally the servant of the Lord, and thus when he engages himself in the service of the Lord in all respects, he enjoys the perfection of life. Om Ajnana Timandasya Janam Sanasya Saksham Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Chichitayamanupstam Stapatam Yena Bhutaleshvam Rupakadamam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shigo Shiyuda Patakamlam Shigam Vaishnavam Shah Upam Jagajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Satipam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pagdana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shiksha Kam Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Tyatpate Kopesha Kopkakam Tagada Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchna Gauri Radhe Vindavanashri Vishabhana Sutadevi Pranamama Kripi Pankha Kauta Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Patiram Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachani Desatani. Srila Prabhupada ki. Now, read the verse once again. Iti vyasvasito bhutya narayana kahitaya itpanya bhavanasyanam tata sambhavam ashtitam. This Maharaj Katpanga, by his advanced intelligence in rendering the service to the Lord, gave up false identification with the body full of ignorance. In his original position of eternal servitorship, he engaged himself in rendering service to the Lord. So, Maharaj Katpanga had advanced intelligence. He was requested by the demigods to help in the fight against the demons. And he fought to the best of his ability and was successful. And after the fight, the demigods vowed to give him any benediction. But as appeared from previous verses, Katpanga Maharaj, he was educated in Krishna consciousness since his youth. So he was Krishna conscious, and he was not interested in the benedictions of the demigods. But when they asked him for, you can ask any benediction for us, then Katpanga Maharaj asked another question, and he said, how long do I have still to live? And the demigods replied, just a moment. Of course, that's a moment of demigods' time, but still not much. And Katpanga Maharaj was not interested in their benedictions because he had advanced intelligence. He immediately applied himself in devotional service. How to get this advanced intelligence? That we get this advanced in intelligence by rendering service to the Lord, as explained here. And if we render service to the Lord, Krishna gives us intelligence. Desham satatayuktam patsampidavukam tadami buddhiyogam yena mamapayamtite. It gives this intelligence to the heart. And this is called Buddhi Yoga, is self-realized spiritual knowledge. And how do we obtain it? By like devotion service. How does this happen? Desham evanakam partamamma kyana chamtamanasi chamatma bhavastu kyana dipanabhas vashvata. Krishna from within the heart gives the devotee realizations. He cleanses the heart with the kyana dipana, with the lamp of knowledge. By the lamp of knowledge, this ajnan, this darkness of ignorance, that disappears. And when one gets his advanced intelligence, then one realizes one's real identity. So Krishna consciousness is about the power of our spiritual identity. Just understand who we are and act on that platform of spiritual understanding of who I really am. That I remember when I came to Krishna consciousness, it took me a few years to understand something of that. And then I started to realize, because Krishna consciousness is about transcending birth and death. But I understand, according to my previous understanding, who I was. I was thinking I was the body. And when you think you are the body, then death is real, because death for the body is real, but not for your real identity. But if you don't know your real identity, then death is real. That's a problem. First, we have to understand who we are. And this verses, one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita, or a section of Bhagavad Gita, which is difficult to understand even for devotees. That's at the end of the 13th chapter. But to understand this, it's when one does not perform devotional service, when one is not a devotee, one cannot not understand it. Krishna says at the end of the Bhagavad Gita that one who preaches this knowledge to my devotees and so on is very dear to me, but one should not explain it to those who are not my devotees, who are not austere. They don't understand anything from it. That does not mean that they cannot come to a point of beginning of understanding. That's something else. But that requires mercy and a submission to the process of devotional service. And most people are not interested in that. You see the story of Chitraketu, when Angira Muni came. And Chitraketu was morose, depressed, because he could not get a son, and then his dynasty would stop. But for a devotee, that this is meaningless. Oh, so many dynasties just come and go in this month. that it is meaningless. It's all the temporary flow of this material world, but he was depressed about it. And Angira Muni saw this. He saw the index of his face. Index of the face represents the state of mind. He could understand this Chitraketu is really depressed. And therefore it did not give him transcendental knowledge. He agreed to help him to get a son. But of course, one cannot change one's karma. One's karma due to one's previous deeds. No, one cannot change that. One should search for that knowledge which is not available, or one should search for that happiness which is not available from the lowest till the highest planet. About happiness in this world is concerned, that it is already fixed from your birth. Happiness, and it's just for the body, is fixed. That does it mean that you cannot do anything about it? Well, I discussed it with Gopa Swami near Mayapur. He's a doctor. And he said, if everything is predestined, what's the use of me being a doctor? But he said, yes, everything is predestined, but you have a small range where you can do change little things. That, like you have a disease, and you can take, if you take the proper medicine, you can cure it for the time being. That so by a proper use of intelligence, you can counteract certain things for some moment. But that's all. Finally, the disease will come and you will die. Or another disease will come. But your karma will come. That, so it's all useless, all this karma. The devotee is not concerned with it. But Chitraketu, yes, Angira Muni promised him, I will help you to get your son. And he performed a fire sacrifice for Lord Vishnu and offered sweet rice as an oblation to the fire, offered it to the fire and performed and was pouring ghee, spaha. That and after the sacrifice for Lord Vishnu, he gave him this. He gave him this prasad, sweet rice prasad, and he said, "Give that to one of your queens." And he gave it to his favorite queen, Katatyuti. But then, before Angira Muni disappeared, he said, your son will have the name Harsha Soka. He will get great, he will give you great happiness and great lamentation. So he had not the karma to get a son. But still it was arranged, but it would cost him great lamentation and great happiness. Great happiness and lamentation. The lamentation was countering the happiness. But finally, because he did not have the karma, after the great festivities, the jubilation of having a son, and the whole state was in a festival mood, but not the queens. Katatyuti was very happy, but all her co-queens were very unhappy and envious, and they poisoned the son. And then Narada Muni appeared together with Angira Muni again. And when because Chitraketu had fainted because his son had died. And Narada Muni said, oh, the parenthood in this world is temporary. So nothing to be concerned about. But he could not get out of his lamentation. When the dead child was lying there, by the mystic power of Narada Muni, the soul entered again the body, and the body sat up, and Narada Muni spoke to the child, to the soul directly. And it said to the soul, why did you leave untimely? See what grief you have caused to your parents, Narada Muni said. And the soul said, parents, I've got millions of parents. Which parents do you mean? And then the soul left again the body and the child, and the child fell dead. And Chitraketu got the point. He got the point at that moment by having that experience. But that's very rare. That one gets an experience, that one gets the point. But the point you can get, the transcendental intelligence you get by performing devotional service. Then you will realize, because the Bhagavatam, hearing the Bhagavatam, makes us attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by creating that attachment, we become detached from this world. Because by performing devotional service, it is said in the second canto, in the first canto, chapter 2, there you have the verse. Asudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Payochita Yanyatya Sibhakyam Yana Sayat. So by performing devotional service, one gets closer knowledge and detachment. It's a product of that. And this knowledge and detachment is different from the knowledge of the study of the Vedas, practicing austerities and so on. That this is self-realized knowledge. And we need this self-realized knowledge. We can hear, we are not the body, but what do we understand? That if you read verses like Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, Prakritya vasa karmani kriyamani sarvasa yapasat tatatmama kastam sa pashyati. When we see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created by material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually cease. Do you think every moment like that? A self-realized person thinks like that. He sees Krishna everywhere. He sees as spiritual I only desire, and everything is done by material nature. One sees that, and it's a high level of Krishna consciousness. But that level is required to identify with our real self. If you still think, I'm the doer in this world, I'm going to achieve things by my own endeavors, for my own benefit, forget it. You are completely delusional. So that requires practice. And that is what Krishna says. One should see what's the process to get that knowledge, that self-realized knowledge, performing devotional service. Yes, but not only that. Before you can really do that, you must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Inquire from him about spiritual life and serving him, because that pleases Krishna. And then Krishna is going to destroy this Ajnana. Then you will see that everything is connected with Krishna and everything is in Krishna. Everything belongs to Krishna. That connection is made. Then you are on the boat of transcendental knowledge. But to get on that boat, you must follow that process. Then you can give up your false identification that when you act, you identify not with the body, but as a spirit soul. But to have that identity, that's a high achievement. But devotional service has two levels, devotional and service. That devotion is not there in the beginning, only service. But that service, if done under the instructions of the spiritual master, then this realization, the internal realization will come. And that's important, it will come. By practice, it will come, this eternal realization. It may take many years to get that full realization, but it's a gradual process. But it brings us out of illusion. All these demigods here, these great demigods, but they are all in illusion. That's very important. They are Sakam Bhaktas. Sakam Bhaktas are in illusion. They want to serve Krishna, which is good, but they want also to enjoy the world at the same time. And that's a problem. Then you don't have access to this higher transcendental knowledge. So Maharaj Katwanga had advanced intelligence, which they had not. They were lacking this entire advanced intelligence. That we can say, oh, Lord Brahma is the most advanced devotee is the head of our sampradaya, that is very advanced. But Lord Brahma is not so advanced as the residents in Vaikuntha. That still he became bewildered by Krishna's pastimes. That because we are used to think in terms of bodily experience, in terms of modes of nature, in terms of the laws of nature, in terms of the laws of logic in this world. But Krishna cannot be understood by logic in this world. That's not the way that when someone asks my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, can Krishna make Govardhan so heavy that he cannot lift it? And my Guru Maharaj said, yes, and still he will lift it. So, because Krishna is translogical, it's not submit to the logic of this world, to the laws of this world. That and as a spirit soul, we are also not supposed under control of these laws of material nature, because the spirit soul, and that's the beginning of this understanding. Yeah, how can we know the soul is there? Krishna says, Yat Pakasayat Yeka Krishna Lokamidam Bhavikshitang Shatritata Krishna Pakasayati Bharata. A son of Bharat, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So that consciousness, where is this consciousness coming from? Most people, they don't think about it, but it's the most important thing. That's the only thing what the soul has, consciousness, awareness. We know the difference between a dead and a living body. It's consciousness. When the consciousness is gone, we understand the soul is gone. And once it's gone, nobody can bring it back into the body. It's definite that, but nobody can explain the source of consciousness. It appears at a certain age in the body, in the womb of the mother already. The mother can feel that living entity is there and is conscious that the consciousness is there, but one cannot explain where it comes from and how it spreads all over the body. It's coming through the blood. The bloodstream transports the consciousness. It's a medium of transport of consciousness. And it comes from the heart. So understanding this simple point, people cannot get it. That how can they are different, be different from the body? But the Bhagavatam explains us that there are 4 states of consciousness. That 3 states polluted, and the 4th is transcendental. It's called in Sanskrit Shagrati, one is awake, and then Swapna, dreaming. We dream at night sometimes. Then sometimes we don't dream, we have deep sleep, Susupti. And then you have the 4th stage, and that's our natural stage, it's Turiya, the transcendental state. That 4 stages of consciousness are described. But you may dream at night, you may have a deep sleep, but when you are awake, you remember, I was sleeping. You remember, I deep sleep. But even if someone in deep sleep, you shout, get up, he hears. And he wakes up, the consciousness is still there. But we experience this states of consciousness. Who is this we? That's our real self, the spirit soul. And Krishna consciousness, the Vedas, what is to be known by the Vedas? Vedas is our army for Vedya, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 50. I'm to be known. But why is Krishna to be known by the Vedas? Because only when you know Krishna, you can know yourself. Because we are a servant, a part of Krishna. In eternal separated part of Krishna. And we have a relationship. So first, the beginning of spiritual life begins with Sambandha Jnana, understanding who we are, a part and parcel of Krishna. Yeah, like in the purport it says, yeah, in previous purports. Yeah. Shivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nitya Das. We have our original position, we are a servant of Krishna. That's the first part of the Vedas. Vedanta Sutra, first book, is about Sambandha Jnana. And then the second and the third book is about Abhideya, how to engage in that devotional service. But how to perform devotional service is explained also in the Bhagavatam. But then Prayojan, what's the goal? The goal is regaining our natural state back as a spirit soul. And we can get that back by the power of our spiritual identity, acting as a spirit soul. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam explains us how to act as a spirit soul, and that's very powerful. Even we may have not realization, the realization will soon come. And that realization comes especially by daily hearing this Bhagavatam and become deeply absorbed in it. Then we get to understand this reality. And by engagement in devotional service, that because we are meant to be happy. But if we don't understand who we are, we can never be happy. That if we think we are this body, good luck. That it's a very, if we think we are this body, that's a very depressing thought, because the body has to die. That it's all soon come to an end, to the end. And such philosophies that explain that you are the body, that yes, they are only sources of great, horrible suffering. The Chakravakas who say, yes, enjoy your body, whatever it takes. If you have to borrow things, steal things, but make sure you enjoy that. So this false understanding leads to immorality. That's what it leads to. That if you understand you are the body, then everything in this world gets another definition. Srila Prabhupada's definitions are quite different. When he speaks about ahimsa, ahimsa, he says, is hampering someone's spiritual progress in realizing that he's a spirit soul. Everything that hampers that is violence. And that is real violence. So you redefine reality when you are a spirit soul. And then you don't care about honor, dishonor, the good and bad in this world. No, you perform transcendental activities. Only transcendental activities for the pleasure of Krishna, because that is acting as a spirit soul. And just by doing that, we will come to that point of developing advanced intelligence like Katpanga Maharaj did. He had no interest in this world. He did his service for the demigods as a service to Krishna, because he knew these demigods are also devotees of the Lord, and he was pleasing them also. So this is an important lesson. Always act according to your real constitution as a spirit soul. Don't act as the body. When I was in China or something, I was in Switzerland, together with Bhakti Maharaj. That must have been 96. In Ticino, I think. We had a restaurant there. That's the Italian part of Switzerland. And my godfather, who left his body a few years ago, Vishweshwar, was there. And his health was not good. And Bhakti Maharaj told him, when you leave your body unexpected, then always be fixed in this consciousness that you are not this body. You must think you are not this body. So important that fixed in the ideas, I'm fixed in the knowledge of our real identity, our fractal swarup. And Krishna also explains it in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. There, Uddhava is asking, tell me about the symptoms of conditioned and liberated souls. What's the difference? And Krishna answered, the soul is never liberated or conditioned. It has nothing to do with material nature. It's never. But because the consciousness coming from the soul is contaminated by material nature, we think ourselves conditioned, that all liberated, that. But this is not factual. That it's deep knowledge there in the Buddha Gita. That because because the four Kumaras, they asked Brahma. They said, Brahma, this mind and the objects in this world, they are interconnected. Because objects go into the mind. How can you break that connection? That, and then the Lord says, yes, this question was asked by the four Kumaras to Brahma. But Brahma could not answer this question. He could not answer this question. That with all his advanced intelligence, he could not answer it. How can you break that connection? That what is the answer? That the answer can be understood by advanced intelligence. Because then Krishna tells the story of Hamsa avatar and the four Kumaras, Aspini Kumaras, I think. And there the question was also discussed. And the answer is very simple. This connection cannot be broken. This connection is there because we are identified with the body. But when we don't identify with the body, we don't identify with the mind and with the objects of the senses. We get out of the whole thing. So that's the same point. We have to identify ourselves as a spirit soul. We have really nothing to do with this world, but we became very much attached. That all these so-called families, relationships, and all these so-called problems, the problems are not important, are not really there. But we think, because of our attachment, these are all big problems. And we become affected, right? But of course, to attain that stage, one must surely become purified by chanting, by hearing the Bhagavatam, by only taking prasadam, and by absorption, internal absorption. Devotional service is not an external activity. Internal must come. Seeing Krishna everywhere. That gradually we come to this higher realization as Maharaj Katpanga. Because Maharaj Katpanga, he could give up all this attachment in a moment, it is said. But in reality, because he was a devotee, he gave it all up much before. That it was not such a sudden thing, because he had realization, he had a power, because he was identified with his real self, he had the power to give it up at once. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Yes?
I have a question. In the fourth sentence, Prabhupada is mentioning when one actually becomes purely Krishna conscious, no one has any right to rule over you. But if I take up like this little word, when one actually becomes Krishna conscious, no one has any right to rule over you. Is there any possibility that someone thinking that is Krishna conscious enough and not taking any rule over it?
Yes, sure. Narada Muni met Ravan. Narada Muni met Ravan. And Narada Muni said to Ravan, you kidnapped Sita. That's not good. You should give Sita back to Ram. And Ravan became very angry. He was going to kill Narada Muni. And he took his sword and he was going to kill Narada Muni, and zip, he went to his body, his sword, and nothing happened. And still Narada Muni was dancing there, and Ravan said, he became more diplomatic. He said, what kind of body do you have? And Narada Muni said, oh, that's a spiritual body. Now, and Ravan said, can I also get such a body? And said, yes, you just performed devotional service to Lord Vishnu. And he said, no, that I cannot do. But he tried to control Narada Muni. And I think also, yeah, many tried to influence Prabhupada, but no way that he was successful in everything. That Mr. Nair in Mumbai was also going to control Prabhupada, but it was not possible. All his plans failed. A pure devotee who is under control of Krishna, nobody can touch that. But of course, we should not think ourselves on that level. That's not. Does that help?
Yeah, that's in degrees. It's only when you become fully self-realized, totally protected by Krishna. Before that, you're subject to the laws of nature. But it comes in degrees that we become gradually free from the influence of nature.
No, Krishna protects always, but many times we don't see it because we don't know what's good for us. So Krishna gives us what's good for us, mostly not what we want. What we want in this world, that's nonsense, but he gives us what's good. And what's mostly what we need is purification. And we are too stubborn. We don't want to give it up. And Krishna says, I will help you. I will take away what you are attached to. And say, oh, and then we are suffering. But the good thing is, yes, this is called tests. We get tests. A devotee asked to Prabhupada, do we get tests? Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna gives us tests.
Yes.
Tests.
To improve.
Yeah. And then the devotee asks, do the tests always become more and more severe? And Prabhupada said, no, once you pass the test, you pass the test. Of course, when you don't pass the test, Krishna gives you the test again until you pass. Yes.
Well, thank you all right for this class. It really spoke to the heart. My question was, you mentioned earlier about there's two aspects of devotion or service, the devotion and the service. And can you explain further about the transition between coming to the service platform to the devotion, getting to the service?
So in the beginning, we don't have the devotion, only the external is there. So our devotional service is mechanistic. This mechanistic devotional service is an act of devotion called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. It's 64 items of devotional service. 10 things to do, 10 things not to do, and 44 items how to serve the Lord. That in the beginning we do this under instruction of the spiritual master. Vaidhi means rules. Vaidhi, sadhana, practice of rules, mechanistic, performing devotional service. And the impetus is the order of the spiritual master. And because we do that to please the spiritual master, although we don't have love, Krishna accepts it as a little love and start the Dhamma Buddhyogatam to give us realizations to the heart. And to the degree that we get realizations, surely this devotion, this attachment to Krishna will be awakened. And then we get Paramdristvani Vartate, this higher taste. We think Krishna, we see Krishna in everyone's heart. We see Krishna in everyone's action of every person. That's a gradual development. Yes.
Understanding, for the comment would be that our service to Guru in this time means serving Prabhupada's instructions.
Yeah.
And that is like, it covers everything. If we're following Prabhupada's instructions, then automatically we're also serving Prabhupada's successor or the other gurus. So we don't have to go and get specific instruction from our guru. The program is already set. All the different activities of devotional service as we are practicing in ISKCON Sangha, that guarantees that we're pleasing Prabhupada and his successors. There can be also a specific instruction that we'll add to them.
Yeah, so the spiritual master in our movement is a representative of Srila Prabhupada, and his function is to explain Srila Prabhupada's instructions, to help the disciple to understand them, and how to practice them in certain circumstances, time, place, and circumstances. But it may also give specific instructions to the disciple according to his nature and so on. But that should never be seen apart from the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, and should never seen apart of the instructions even of the GBC, who is highest authority. That they can overrule the specific instructions of the spiritual master. But yeah, each spiritual master, they have an important function. If it's seen always in connection with Prabhupada, then we are safe. If we see it separate from Prabhupada, the instruction of the spiritual master, we are in trouble. And therefore my Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he said always the mercy comes from Prabhupada. So we should never see the spiritual master separated from Prabhupada. Then we are in trouble. It's an important point.
That has taken decades since Prabhupada's departure to understand that connection of that relationship.
Yeah.
Prabhupada and his successor guru.
Yeah, and it's
Some thought, well, I'm not Prabhupada's disciple, I'm the disciple of such and such. You know, therefore, my only concern is to satisfy my immediate guru.
yeah.
I don't have to know so much more about
The neophyte disciple does not understand it. That's a problem. Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah, please.